being a perfectionist, it isn't just like crossing the T's and dotting the I oriented type thing. It plays into every aspect of your life, literally. And I know you and I, we've had all of this: anxiety, depression, and burnout. Wholeheartedly, we've had those. And then you got procrastination after the burnout, where you just can't go again and you're procrastinating. I'll get that done this week, and then you don't, right? And then feeling bad for not getting it done, and there's the shame.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything's Okay, a mental health podcast brought to you by Crazy Ant Media. Today, we'll be discussing the topic of perfectionism and how the pressure to be flawless can quickly wreck your inner peace and your own mental health. As always, I'm joined by my father-in-law and co-host, Dustin. How are you doing today?
Today's a good day to be recording a mental health podcast. It's been a day, my friend. It's been a day. But you know what? It's all good. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we're doing this one. This one's going to be fun because, you know, you and I both, let's be honest about it, we're perfectionists. And sometimes it gets us in trouble. So this is going to be a fun one to talk about because I'm betting there's a lot of people out there just like us. No doubt.
Yeah, most definitely. And I feel like there's probably a lot of people who don't even realize that they're struggling with
Exactly.
perfectionism, you know, just trying to get all the nitty-gritty details that are trying to be perfect. Of course, that's the word, but trying to make everything as best as possible, even when it's, like I said, not the finer details that don't even necessarily matter as much, but they matter to the person who is trying to execute that particular thing. But yeah, we wanted to use this as just a way to have audiences realize if they're dealing with perfectionism or have that going on in their life. And I mean, the core definition of perfectionism isn't about wanting to do things well. It's about feeling like you have to do everything flawlessly, or else you are a failure, even
Right.
if you're practicing something. I know specifically for me, like you said, we're both perfectionists, and for me, when I'm practicing editing or when I'm practicing camera moves, when I'm practicing, you know, aperture changes, shutter changes, ISO, all that stuff when it comes to your inner workings of a camera, I definitely want to get it crisp, clear, like
Without
absolutely
doubt.
flawless. But you know, I don't know everything about the camera. I don't know everything about podcasting or the SEO as the marketing goes for social media, you know. So
Right.
that's why we always try to lead and learn as much as possible. And one of our favorite sayings here is, you know, once you feel like you know everything, that's when you're getting left behind. And so I think it's very important to know that with all the processes, with all the different DAWs, with all the different things you're doing in life, you're going to keep learning because these things are going to keep changing. I
Yeah.
mean, the world is a evolutionary place to where it keeps growing, it keeps attempting to get better. So you have to make sure that you're continuing to learn and giving yourself that space to learn as
Yeah.
well, because if something new gets introduced to you and you don't know it right away, I mean, that's what practice is for.
And because there is no such thing as perfect. There's just not. You know, we've been talking about this a lot as filmmakers. It's like you if you never learn to let it go, it will never be out there for the world. If you strive to, like, oh, I can make that better, I can make this part of it better, I can rewrite this, I can read that, and so we've started. This is our mantra at the moment as filmmakers: make bad art. And the meaning behind that is nothing is going to be perfect, but you got to make it. And the goal is that each time you make one, you're going to get better at making them. But if you never make one because you're striving to make that one perfect, I mean, you're never going to get anywhere. So I think it's really important to come at it with that philosophy. everything you do is not going to be great, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't do it. And I think so. Let's dive into that a little bit, because I want to talk about the types of perfectionism. And one is self-oriented, where, like you were just talking about, you hold yourself to these impossible standards. It has to be this or nothing at all. And that's called self-oriented perfectionism. And it's impossible. We talk about this on past episodes with different topics, in the sense of set realistic goals, right? With the intention of getting them done. Don't say I'm going to run a marathon. Say I'm going to get out and run today. Much more achievable than I'm going to go run a marathon today, right? And so that's what we're talking about with the self-oriented perfectionism. Don't set these standards or goals that are so ridiculously high that you have absolutely no shot of achieving it, because that is the definition of trying to achieve perfectionism, which will never happen, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, examples of that is, rewriting an email like 7 times,
Or script.
obsessing over the tiny little errors, or feeling panic if something just isn't right.
Right.
It's as long as you get your message across there, it's going to have errors. It's going to have things
Yeah.
that aren't perfect, and that's okay. That's what communication is for. Communication isn't perfect, but communication is important to continue having, so that you can continue striving towards a certain goal or whatever you're trying to achieve. And I
Absolutely.
mean, you were talking about the different types, and there's another one called socially prescribed perfectionism, believing that others expect you to be perfect. I mean, example of this is thinking your boss, partner, or even strangers will judge you after any slip up. This
Yeah.
could be something like, saying something in a conversation that you weren't meaning to say, or portraying something in a certain way that you weren't trying to portray. As someone who likes to deflect with a lot of humor, this comes very hits near and dear close to home, because as someone who has a dark sense of humor, it's a little twisted, it may be outside of the box and not politically correct, that can come across wrong to the wrong set of people. And then when it does come across wrong when you're in that certain setting, man, that is a feeling. You're just like, oh shit, now they think I'm racist, or oh shit, now they think I hate a certain minority group of people, or it's things like that. But you have to know and have further conversation of not having any ill intent behind certain statements or certain jokes, or just to be comfortable enough with the people you're around, especially if it's your circle, knowing that they know who you truly are, and they know that you're just trying to break the ice, or
Well,
So I think it's very important to not hold other people's opinions so high in standards.
Well, this one this is probably my biggest one, honestly, because I feel like I'm constantly being judged when I do something. I feel like it's been that way for many, many years. I set out with an intent to do something, and all of my intent is always good. But I feel like I'm always getting pushback that something was wrong, or I did something bad, or it wasn't great, or why this, why that. And so this is a big one for me. I deal with this one on a daily basis, and maybe some of it legit and some of it perceived, but regardless, this is the one right there. Because I'll be honest about it. There are people out there who judge me and wrongfully judge me, and so that's probably why sometimes I perceive people who are not actually judging me as if they were judging me, because I'm so guarded by the fact that that has happened to me. So and I feel like that's probably a lot of people out there, right? You put that your own perception of, oh, they must have misinterpreted what I meant there, even though maybe they didn't misinterpret what you said there or what you did there. You just have to kind of, like, I think that's a big reason why my circle has gotten so ridiculously small, because like you said, your people know what you meant. Maybe outside people don't, but your circle does know what you meant. And even then, there's some clarification every now and then that you have to do. But I feel like that's like maybe a good idea if you're experiencing that particular type of perfectionism. Bring in your circle a little bit, bring it in. And the other one leads right into other oriented perfectionism, meaning you hold other people to a ridiculously perfect standard that they can never live up to, and then you judge them for not living up to it. Like, no, you can't do that. You can't put your own problems, your own perfectionism onto someone else and then judge them when they don't live up to it. They're not trying to be like you. And so right, because let's be honest, we all do that. Especially I feel like in the work situation. If somebody ain't killing it like you are, somebody's not stepping up like you are, you tend to be like, they're a slacker, they're worthless, why are they here, we don't want them around, kind of a thing. And you don't really, like you said, mean ill intent. It's just that you have a standard and they're not meeting it. But you got to remember that you can't always we don't know what's going on in such and such life. You don't know why they're not meeting that standard. Maybe they got some shit going on that you don't know about and they're just not feeling it today. And you can't hold that standard and say that something's wrong with them just because they might not be where you want them to be at the moment, right?
Yeah, completely agree. Because I mean, specifically for me, bringing in new people to the company, especially starting off, when we're trying to achieve a goal, right? We're trying to make a film. We're trying to create this podcast. We're trying to create an impression on a community that we're trying to build on social media. Specifically, when you have people who aren't necessarily all entrenched in the social media world or in the film world or anything else that we're trying to do, you feel like, they're just kind of along for the ride and give their negative opinions when they do, which can turn out being bad. It can turn out being very bad because you hold that own perfectionism inside of you. So it's important not to, it's important to hold people to standards. It's important to hold people to expectations. But I also feel like it's important to realize that people's work ethics are different. People in life are just different and how they approach certain things. So to be able to let others live and work and chase their dreams and pursue their passions the way they want to, their own way, I think that is what's most important. Because if you think, brother Sam over here is chasing the same dream you are, but he's not trying to do the exact thing you are doing, then it makes it a little bit difficult. Like, say I'm writing a script and brother Sam's writing a script and I'm finished way before he is. But maybe before he's finished with his first draft, he goes back and does revisions before his first draft's even done.
Right.
It's certain things like that. Everybody has a different work ethic. Everybody has a different outlook on how they perceive things. So I think it's very important to not put any eggs in anyone else's basket but your own. I
Well,
think
and I
that's very
think one
important.
thing that you said that just jumped out of me in all of that, I feel you. I agree with all that. But the one thing that just like jumped out was people that aren't in it. People that, if you let someone's opinion or judgment of you get into your head so much because you feel like you've let them down, and this is a person who is saying bad things about you in an area that they know nothing about, like you're failing, you're not doing that right, you're wasting your time, you shouldn't be doing this. Well, you don't even know what this is, so how can you lay that on me? And if you get into the mindset, if you are so worried about being perfect that you listen to that, knowing that that individual has no idea what you're actually doing, then I feel like that's on you. You've got to just let that go. You've got to let that one go over the head or roll off the back or whatever and be like, well, they don't understand the process. So they're coming at it from a viewpoint of not understanding. So that's why they think this. You can't take that at heart, right? Because, I mean, you're getting all kinds of trouble if you do that. So, yeah, I agree with you right there. And let's be honest about it, guys. Being a perfectionist, it isn't just like crossing the T's and dotting the I's kind of a oriented type thing. it plays into every aspect of your life, literally, literally. And I know you and I, we've had all of this. Both of us and people associated with us have gone through every one of these: anxiety, depression, and burnout. Wholeheartedly, we've had those. And then you got procrastination after the burnout, where you just can't go again and you're procrastinating. I'll get that done this week, and then you don't. Right? And then feeling bad for not getting it done, and there's the shame. When we were researching for this episode, I'm like, fuck, that is us. And like we've gone through every one of those, because, as we said at the top of the show, we're perfectionists. Like, so we were bound to run into those, right?
Most definitely. And I mean, especially in the script stage of trying to come up with all of these different ideas, what happens to me is, and it's for sure, accounted towards the ADHD or whatever they classify it as now. But I mean, when I'm writing a script and have a certain idea and start to write it, boom, I get another idea for another script. And I'm just like, but I haven't finished this one yet. So, I mean, and then you feel bad, and then there's procrastination because you write a little bit about the other idea, and then you come back to the other idea, and you're not like the flame isn't there at that particular moment. So it's very wishy-washy on when it comes and goes, but the perfectionism is always there. The shame is kind of always there because you feel like you should always be doing something. You feel like you should always be moving, always editing, always posting, all of these different things. But it's just not true. That's
Yeah.
not how life is. Life isn't the internet. It does seem like a completely different world, but it's the same world, and it's just a tool that you use to try to pursue your dreams and move forward. But when you have these certain things that come across your desk that become more relative, become more, steady in your life, and you feel like you get overwhelmed with trying to make everything perfect, you'll inevitably fail at something or all of the things. So it's important to make sure if you're a part of a company or starting your business, delegation is very important. It's not going to be your idea of perfect, but you have to be open to the new ideas that your team members that you know and you trust, and that's why you brought them in, are there to do. Let them do their job and get out of the way, right? You can have your specific ideas or your talking points that you're like, oh, you could do this, you could do that. But at the end of the day, you trusted them enough to bring them into your company and have them a part of your team. So at a certain point, you have to be hands off and just let them go and see how the audience reacts to the content. So I think that's very important. And it's very important to remember that you have people that have your back even when you're going through these different things: procrastination, shame, depression, anxiety. So, yeah, to have your team, your support system, and to be able to give yourself enough slack to be like, okay, this is happening right now. I'm not going to be able to write this, but maybe I can just finish this scene. Let me just
Right.
finish this, So it's different things like that. It's really about just being kind to yourself, because I think perfectionism is a negative connotation that you put on yourself.
Oh, without doubt.
So, I mean, yeah, you just have to be your own best friend.
Yeah, absolutely have to be. And I like what you were said about, because I was the exact same way with, I would start one and then another idea would pop in and I'd start that one, and then and I would find myself inadvertently, without even realizing, crisscrossing them. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
wait a minute. No, that's not part of this. That's supposed to be part of that. So I got into, kind of going back to what we were saying at the top, how I solved that for myself is like, just finish this. If this one's only 6 pages, great. Finish it. If all you got is 6 pages, finish it. If this one ends up being 15, that's awesome too. Don't worry about, like, I have to do, oh, I have a new idea, I got to do, oh. Just finish one. And who knows, that one that you finish, 6 pages, you might go back at some point and it becomes 15 pages. But just finish it before you start the next one, and then move on. And it doesn't matter if one is this and one is this or one is this. Just make an intention to finish one. And like you said, or finish a scene. But because if you set that and you're like, okay, today I'm just going to finish this scene, before you know it, you'll have finished that script. And then you move on to the next one. It's those little baby steps. And I don't know. We also, I think, we we buy into the hype, I guess is the way I want to say it. When you do something and someone praises you for it or hypes you up about it, like, oh my God, that was so awesome. You're like, I can't believe all that. And then you start buying into that. That starts to build on you because if they don't praise you for the next one, you feel like you didn't do it well. You did something was wrong. Why didn't they call me awesome on this one? I did the same thing. And so you start to, like you say, put that perception onto yourself, that pressure onto yourself. And I like what you said. You've got to be your own best friend. Okay, well, maybe they didn't think I was awesome this time around, but I think I'm awesome. I did a good job. Yeah, I think that's important. I really do because, especially in the day of social media, praise and hype is out there. And if you start to buy into that, you can get yourself into trouble real quick, especially if you strive for perfection. You start to buy that hype about you are perfect, you're in all kinds of trouble.
Yeah, most definitely. And I honestly think, at least for me, I think the stem root of perfectionism for me is competition, trying
Mm,
to compare and compete with different people. I mean, it started with my older brother, always trying to outshine, outwit, outlast all of the different things that we would try to do. We always had a lot of the same interests, so we always tried to compete against each other and do better than the other. And I mean, even in some instances, I'm still doing that. I don't know if he's still doing that. But I feel like when you compete with somebody, you have to realize like your pros and your cons, I guess, and then their pros and cons,
mm,
and then just work off of that. Like, for example, if you're playing a basketball game and your brother has a better 3-point shot than you, but you have better rebounding abilities, you have to be able to just work on what you need to work on without harping on it and continuing to bring yourself down because you can't put more points on the board or you can't be the person that they are. So I feel like competition, comparison, it's very parallel to perfectionism because you look at the greats, you look at people who you think are perfect or at least people you idolize and you want to do something exactly like them, and sometimes that's not the best way to do it. Like, it's okay to follow someone else's path, but it is not okay to, like, if you step off of that path that you are following, to
yeah.
beat yourself up about it, because you're living your own life, you're going through your own journey, and there's nobody else like in your corner more than you. You should be your biggest fan. You should be your own best friend. So if you're not doing exactly what you think is right, continue learning, continue moving forward. But also, like I said earlier, just give yourself a little bit more credit, because what you know now compared to what you knew last year is probably vastly different. So you have to continue moving forward, continue building off of that. And it's just like Lego blocks. Continue building up. Don't let it fall down. Don't let it break. Just continue building up. And every once in a while, you'll finally get to that finished product. So, and
Yeah.
that's always the success. And we're always chasing the success, which is very, very hard as creatives, as perfectionists, never being able to feel like you reach that height of that first high that you got from whatever you're doing. So I think that's always something too. You're always chasing that first high, and sometimes you can never achieve it. Sometimes you can outdo it, but it's hard to do because you set the bar so high for yourself, and just don't let yourself fall. I feel like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and be very clear with how you define success. I feel like a lot of, especially people in our industry, a lot of filmmakers, they're like, unless they win an Oscar or unless it's, theatrically released or it has a big name star, they think they have failed. Did you make a movie? Did you finish it? Was it available to watch somewhere? Then you were a success. That was a success. And I feel like as long as you can come at it and know your definition of success, you're going to be okay, right? Because if you're trying to live up to what society defines as success, then what's the point? Because you might never achieve that, or you might achieve that all the time. But if that's what you're holding the standard to, I think you're going to be in all kinds of trouble. And I also like what you said about you can go along the same path but swim in your own lane, right? That's the thing. Like you, me and my brother were highly competitive, especially in sports. We would go at each other in sports, and especially in football. But then you have to realize, swim in your own lane. We're both fucking awesome in football, but you know what? You can throw and I can catch. And the fact is, you'd only catch 1 out of the 10 throws that you can actually make. And I can't throw any of the throws that you can make, but I can catch them all. And once you realize, like, you're competing and you don't have to compete, right? You're both where you're supposed to be. Just acknowledge that, hey, we're both pretty good, but this is my lane and this is your lane, and together we can get pretty damn far, you know? I think it's when you're competing, like, damn, I wish I could throw the way he could throw. So I've got to catch and learn how to throw like he throws. No, just do you. You don't have to learn how to do anything that they can do. You just do you. And I think, because when we start getting that competition, comparison is like the worst, because it always leads to perfectionism. You always have to be better than them. You always have to be the best one. You have to be perfect at everything you do, which is just, it's so bad.
Yeah. Most definitely. And I feel like a lot of it comes from unstable environments. I feel like probably a lot of perfectionists grew up in poverty, below the line, where they're trying to make something of themselves. So
Yeah.
they feel like they have to be perfect. I knew I grew up in a household with tons of siblings, right? I had 4 older siblings on my dad's side, and I had 2 younger siblings on my mom's side. So I'm like a little bit everywhere. I'm the youngest on one side and the oldest on another. So to feel like I'm the most constant one, I'm the most reliable one, I'm the one who is always moving towards something, who's not getting derailed. That was always my goal growing up, to feel like I was the one who was most stable. That's what they can say about me when I die. I can be the one who is the most reliable. But I mean, you have to just go through life just knowing that you are a good person. If you're attempting to be a good person, you
Right,
have to,
right.
at least try. But you have to do what is best for you always. And if it doesn't like super inconvenience you, depending on how big the magnitude of the situation is, you have to, do what's best for you at that particular time and make sure it doesn't take away from anything that's also important. So you have to, the balance. You see how all of our episodes coincide with each other. The balance of everything is what makes the world keep turning. So that is very important, to make sure that you continue moving forward, continue building on your Lego blocks, and moving forward. It's very important. It's very hard. It's very hard, and it's very hard to not be defeated when you feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to do. But again, just got to be nice to yourself.
Without doubt, you you absolutely have to be nice to yourself. The other thing you got to look out for, especially like what you just said, being in the middle of two different groups, you got to look out for, at some point you might be replaced, and in the sense of not really being replaced, but the praise might be put on someone else. That can be difficult sometimes. That can make you a perfectionist. That can make you go like, I got to now prove I'm the better one so that praise comes back to me, right? And you can't do that. You just have to accept the fact that sometimes that's the reality of the situation, right? Like, I was the baby boy. I was the go-getter. I was the straight-A student. I was the, oh my gosh, he's so great. He's this, he's that, he's that. And then my little brother was born, and none of that came to me anymore. All gone. All heaped on him. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm the golden boy. Wait a minute. Like, I could bring home the straight A report card and knock his shit. And I'm like, but wait. And you just got to let that go. Again, it's like, be your own best friend, like you said. Understand that it doesn't mean that they're not proud of your straight A's. It just means at this moment, you're not getting that praise. And you can't go out there and have to try to do better than what you did just to try to get that attention again. You get in all kinds of trouble that way, too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know, but listen, I think the big thing is, and I'm sure we've talked about this through almost like there are people out there, y'all. We are not the only ones. Everybody listening to this has probably gone through at some point something like that, being told that they're this or told that they're that or not this or not that. So And actually we put this out there and we got some responses. So like, you want to dive into the emails real quick? Let's like, because we got a couple good ones which we could talk about because it kind of fits.
For sure. Yeah, let's open up that inbox and got a few powerful messages from some listeners this week who have really been feeling this topic. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
We have our first email from Katie, who is 29 in Ohio. Says, "Dear Dustin and Logan, I have always been told I'm ambitious, but I'm really scared to mess up. It's exhausting. I triple check everything and still feel like I'm failing. Help." Completely agree. Right there with you, Katie. Wish that I had some better advice other than, again, be your own best friend. Slow down. Slow down is a big thing. Like to take things at beats, I mean, if you look at a song, everything is measured out in different beats, and sometimes you can be going fast, but sometimes you have to slow it down depending on what measure you're at in life. So slowing down, I feel like, is a big thing that helps perfectionism. And then, like I said, again, being kind to yourself.
Yeah, and just I would say, because like you said, Logan and I have gone through this ourselves, and in personal lives and our professional lives, it's like, if you really are scared of what you're going through right now, like you're just constantly worried about you're messing up, you're likely on the verge of, if you're not already, suffering from some form of anxiety. And you got to be careful there, because anxiety can get you. It can lead to all kinds of other mental health problems. So like Logan said, just kind of step back, reset, understand that you're doing okay, and just really take time to focus on yourself a little bit and not worry about whether you're doing something great or whether you're overdoing or whether you're messing up. Just take some time and reflect on where you're at and what you're doing, and are you happy? Because we don't want you to head down that road of anxiety, because it's a rough one. And if if we have any advice, it's like, watch out for that. Take a breather. Take a breather.
Yes, completely agree. Completely agree. Well, our second email today is coming from Jamal, 35, from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He says, "Logan and Dustin, how do I know if I'm just tired from work or if it's perfectionism making me feel like I'm never doing enough?" Well, that's a great question, Jamal. And sometimes it's easier said than done. But,
Yep.
to be able to just knock off the majority of things on a task list that I'm sure a lot of our jobs have, that you feel like you did adequately enough just to be able to check off the boxes. Again, they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to take up your whole day, but time and delegation and time management is very important. So like, give yourself an adequate amount of time to get a goal accomplished. And if you feel like, that you got it good enough, that it's passable, I think that's important, because you don't, if especially if you're like cleaning at a restaurant or prepping or something along those lines, like, as long as you have the product, it's there, and you're helping out the next shift or whatever, that is what's important. As long as you don't leave people high and dry, they will appreciate that. That's for sure. But I mean, you should also be sure to rest, because resting helps out a lot, and you should never feel guilty about doing that rest, especially when it comes to work in the day job, because we both know it can be a lot and stressful for absolutely no reason. So yes, take that with you next time you go to work.
Absolutely, because if you are feeling guilty about slowing down, then you're already headed there. You're already a perfectionist, probably, and definitely, if you feel like you failed because you took a break, then you're definitely a perfectionist, and you got to get out of that mindset. If Because the real failure will be if you don't take a break. Then you're going to discover what real failure is. Not that, and we've talked about this on the show, because I don't want to misclarify this. Not that failure is a bad thing. in order to succeed, you have to fail. But the failure doesn't have to come at the expense of your mental health. And that's what we really kind of want to, put out there today is that, you don't have to fail at something because you're striving so hard for perfectionism and then it ends up costing you your mental health. You've just got to remember that it's okay to take a rest. It's okay to take a beat. It's okay to, hey, I didn't get all this done, but I got tomorrow and maybe I'll get that done tomorrow and catch up on this or that. Yeah, it's like you said, time management I think is key, and understanding that if you don't get it all done in the day that you had it on the checklist, it's no big deal. You just do it the next day. As long as it all gets done by the end of the week, you're good. It doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be a like mind, altering, world shaking event. You didn't get it done. You put an X in the box instead of a check mark. So what? Move on.
Exactly. Katie and Jamal, thank you so much. If anyone else out there has anything they would like to add or email us about mental health, filmmaking, anything like that, be sure to email us at info@crazyantmedia.com. We love the fan interaction. We love talking to you guys and being able to pick your brains a little bit because it's a lot of fun, and to continuing the conversation moving forward. It is very important. But we do want to share a few quick tips. We were talking about emailing and being professional a little bit earlier. Of course, always proofread your emails, but do like 2 edits. Read it over twice, not 6 or 7 times. That's going to take so much time out of your day, and you're going to change so much, and you're going to have to go back and re-edit, and it's just a lot.
That's right.
You also have to start celebrating effort, not just outcomes. Start celebrating the journey, not your overall destination. That is for sure. Try saying "this is good enough" out loud and see how that feels.
Stuart Smalley.
Creators or accounts that normalize imperfection,
like us.
Exactly. You got to see the mistakes. You have to see the bad art. You have to see all of these different things because you're not going to be perfect at everything. So it's very freaking important.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. That is the key. And just don't be scared. Don't be scared of life. Don't be scared to not be the best at something. Don't be scared if you didn't accomplish what you set out to do. I think that's the biggest thing too, right? Because I think people perceive perfectionism one way, but they're actually just scared of not being perfect. And so don't let that fear get you. I think, the other thing is right, we tend to tie up whether we're valuable or not in this world by what we achieve or don't achieve and how productive we are. That's ridiculous. The guy next to you might only get this much done. The guy over here might get 5 times more than you done. It matters only what you get done. And striving for that type of productivity to match yourself, as Logan said earlier, to compare yourself, just isn't worth it, guys. Your worth is not tied to your productivity based on other people. It's just, did you accomplish something? And it goes back to, like Logan said, it's good enough. You don't have to been here or been there. It's good enough, right?
Exactly. Completely agree. Well, thank you everyone who sent messages in. Thank you everyone who's listening, watching this podcast. We really appreciate you. If you guys didn't know and are new to the podcast, this podcast is dedicated to all of those who have an uphill battle with mental health before, now, in the future, ever. This podcast is to normalize the conversations about mental health and to let you know that you're not going through it alone. Everybody's got something going on.
That's right.
And you just have to keep going, keep the train going. And, you only get one life, so you might as well take advantage of it today. And you are loved and people want to have you here. So it's always important to remember that everything's okay.